Hey guys, so I know in advance before posting this video, I'm gonna be getting comments like, if you did like this movie after what Brie Larson said about men, just hand in your man card. I mean, I've already gotten this comment before, but please, if you're gonna give me a comment like this, make sure you tell me where to go. Like, who do I hand it in to? Where do I hand it in? I mean, try to avoid the confusion. I'm a person who is easily confused. Tell me where to go and I'm just gonna go there, hand in whatever the man card is, and, you know, get on with my life. But anyway though, that was not really a rant as much as it is a point I wanted to make, something that I'm gonna use later on in this video. And on this video, we're gonna be taking an in-depth look into the numbers for Captain Marvel. I'm a finance guy, I prefer numbers over anything. I believe the only thing that doesn't lie are numbers. Now, to keep everyone at bay, I'm not going to start with the Rotten Tomatoes numbers. I'm going to start with the IMDb numbers. I'm going to talk about the Box Office Mojo, but the IMDb numbers are the ones I want to focus on. I'm not just going to look at the overall ratings, I'm going to look at the in-depth ratings, and before I do that, I'm going to tell you that IMDb has a system that you basically can't fool. So if you basically try to use the argument that is used with Rotten Tomatoes, I'm not so familiar with the system they use over there, but if you basically try to use the comment that, you know, the system with Rotten Tomatoes is kind of rigged, Disney has started botting their way through that system and Marvel has mobilized their armies in order to increase the rating of the movie, I'm gonna tell you, no, that doesn't work. IMDb works in such a way that you can't create an account and just vote. I mean, you can vote, but your vote won't count. You've got to have a history of voting. You can't just sign up, log in, start voting, and that's it. You cannot even create that history momentarily, like in a moment, sign up and create that history. The system on IMDb kind of checks for malicious and fraudulent behavior, so no, you cannot tell me that Disney and Marvel have just started botting their way through IMDb. Now, I'm really sorry about having to go through this long introduction, but I'm doing this in order to cover all my bases. Don't want to respond to the same comment a million times, so I have to do it in the video. Better on the video than regretting it later, basically. So speaking Captain Marvel and IMDb, the movie at the moment has a solid 7.0. That's a solid 7 out of 10 on IMDb with 93,271 votes. Now, I would love to ask you to keep your eyes on the captions on this video because I'm going to be updating these numbers by the time I'm uploading this video. There might be a certain gap between me recording it and my uploading it to YouTube, so I need you to stay focused on the numbers on this screen. So how about we look into the details of these 93,271 votes? Alright, so we've got the 11,513 people, 12.3% out of all voters, who gave this movie a 1. Now here is a beautiful piece of information. The number of people who actually voted 1 for this movie before its release, and while it was still in the screening phase, was actually around 8,000 plus people. Yes, I was checking that, and yes, it's kind of funny, because 8,000 people did not really screen the movie in advance, so they were probably voting out of hatred. But considering I'm the one who actually said the system cannot be fooled, I've got to ignore this, otherwise I'm a total hypocrite. So I'm gonna ignore it. Let's say that all of these votes are just legit votes. But we've still got this beautiful combination of votes. We've got 18,135 votes saying it's a 10, 19.4% out of all votes saying this movie is a 10. We've got 9.6% saying it's a 9, 19.7% with 18,387 votes saying it's an 8, and similar 19.7% with 18,388 votes believing it's worthy of a 7. Now, I'm not saying this movie is a 10, I'm not saying it's a 9, I'm not saying it's an 8. I've already said on so many videos, it's a 7 for me. But nonetheless though, you've got the entire spectrum. People who thought this movie was worthy of nothing more than a 1, even though that's kinda out there, and some others who thought it was worthy of an entire 10, even though once again for me, that's kind of out there. And these are actually the majority of voters so far, and I've established this system cannot be fooled in the bot kind of fashion. Now, I know that a lot of people usually rely on Rotten Tomatoes for their ratings and stuff, but nonetheless, for the sake of all those rumors that Rotten Tomatoes this time around isn't really reliable, even though I'm about to prove it is reliable, I just say you rely on IMDb. Now, before I move on to Rotten Tomatoes and Box Office Mojo and all of that good stuff, let me share something real quick with you, the ratings for Black Panther out of IMDb. Now, there is actually a funny story behind me wanting to share the Black Panther ratings out of IMDb with you. Not haha funny, but rather ironic funny. So there's this problem with these movies like Black Panther and Captain Marvel. They're not really problems, but some people consider them problems. It's really all about all these made-up sensitivities that we have nowadays. A lot of people hear marketing terms like, this is the first black superhero movie or Marvel superhero movie, and they get triggered. Like, okay, there's a political agenda there. And then a lot of people hear the marketing slogans for a movie like Captain Marvel as the first female-led Marvel superhero movie, and then they get triggered again because, hey, there must be a feminist agenda. You know, the apocalypse is upon us, Wakanda is the most advanced state in the world and it's gonna invade us all, or women are just gonna replace men for good. Which, by the way, I want to state for the record, Wakanda is a make-believe state, by the comics and for the comics, and well, for the movies based on the comics. And the same does apply for Captain Marvel, only replace the word state with the words female superhero. But anyway, it's because of this that thousands of people decided we're gonna vote Black Panther with a 1 and a 2. By the way, I gave Black Panther a 9, so I think it deserves a 9, not the 7.3 that it has on IMDb. But without going into detail, I want you to check the composition of ratings on your screen right now for Black Panther. I want you to remember as well that Thor: The Dark World, that's Thor 2, the worst Thor movie, one of the worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, got a lot more total votes than Black Panther, that's basically around 50,000 more, yet it only had 5,424 votes, believing it's a 1. Again, I'm gonna write that off to different tastes and different opinions. The point I'm trying to make over here is, if we're trying to play the bot card on Rotten Tomatoes, we can always play as well the, fake votes card for those who hate the movie ahead of its release. I'm talking about people hating movies for what they sound like, what they believe they might be, what the movie might be marketed as, rather than the actual content of the movie. And I'm not just talking Captain Marvel over here, I'm talking Black Panther as well, one of my favorite, literally top 3 to top 5 favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies of all time. But moving on though to take a look at Box Office Mojo, how the movie has been performing in theaters. Let us check out how the boycott of this movie is working, with the backlash against Brie Larson for the awful things that she said, which by the way, I don't think were that awful, I just think she misspoke, but all she meant was like inclusiveness and diversity. But nonetheless though, let us check out the numbers, because for me, numbers do speak louder than actions. So basically, the screenshot over here, and by the way, you're going to find links to all of this in the pinned comment down below, does present us with the top grossing movies of all time on opening weekend. Hold on, because I spy with my eye number 6 Captain Marvel 455 million opening weekend, and I've read a lot of tweets, a lot of articles talking about how this movie is doomed to fail. It's not even going to make 80 million to 100 million in opening weekend. If that happens, the movie is really lucky. Surprisingly though, it's made 153 million in the US and 302 million outside the US. Now, I'm not really saying this is proof of anything. I'm okay with people having their own opinions, with hating the movie, with liking the movie. Everyone are entitled to their own opinion. But to turn a few misspoken words into a cause, to turn a movie into a cause, hating a movie into a cause, that was the case with Black Panther at some point, by the way, and this is the case with Captain Marvel. That is really where I take a little bit of an issue, because you basically can't discuss anything with those people, you can't argue with those people, and they basically end up being toxic and being rude as well, and their best shot is to start calling you names. And I seriously find it hard to argue with people who start their conversations with, "Hey, I didn't watch the movie, but I think it's shit." Or, "I'm just gonna go watch the movie for the post-credits scenes." I mean, I've heard these arguments, and for someone who tries to pride himself on, responding to every single comment, those particular comments kind of make it very hard for me. But once again, I don't have a problem with everyone who disliked the movie. I mean, you watched the movie without having a preconceived notion that you were gonna hate it, and I'm definitely okay with all of that. I mean, you are entitled to your own taste and your own opinion, just like I give myself the entitlement to my own taste and my own opinion. Now, before I end this video, because I don't want to prolong it further, I'm gonna just talk about Rotten Tomatoes real quick over here. If what I discussed earlier on this video is what we got out of IMDb, then 57% likes to this movie on Rotten Tomatoes kind of makes a lot of sense. It is not perfect, it is not exactly the same as IMDb, as a matter of fact it's actually lower than IMDb, which does actually tell us something. If the system that cannot be botted actually gives us a higher rating, that actually means that the system of Rotten Tomato might not have really been botted, as a lot of people claim. That means that there is a possibility that most of the claims out there that, "Oh, our ratings have been deleted," might be false claims. One person might have started it and then the others just fell in line, for whatever reasons. They hated Brie Larson for whatever she said, they disliked the movie so bad, and they wanted to prove that no ratings out there were actually reliable, and a lot of people do rely on Rotten Tomatoes. So it basically was kinda easy to hit where it hurts. Now, I'm trying so hard not to be so frank on this one because I might hurt a lot of feelings out there, but the truth is, most if not all of these screenshots that you do see circulating on Twitter, for example, out of Rotten Tomatoes, they can be easily photoshopped. You know, all of those people who are claiming that the whole thing have been botted, I'm yet to see them post a link to one botted review. I mean seriously, instead of posting just screenshots, post links as well. If you start posting links, you might actually get people like me to start believing that Rotten Tomatoes has been completely rigged. But then again, we can always go back to IMDb and rely on it instead of relying on Rotten Tomatoes, as I mentioned earlier, if that is the only problem we've got here. Unless our real problem over here is to prove that the movie was so horrible that we are a majority and that anyone who says otherwise should basically burn in hell. But finally though, a couple of things that made me laugh. A couple of people were writing reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and they were saying, oh, our reviews have been deleted. One of them was actually talking about a review that he just posted and was deleted right away. He was talking about his 2-star review having been deleted, while the 5-star review is probably gonna stay. But he did at least make sure to add that the movie was quite horrible. Now, I decided to waste the next 1 hour of my time to look through reviews, you know, older reviews, to see what kind of review would have been deleted. I expected to see a lot of 5, 4, and 3-star reviews, but definitely no half-star, 1-star, 1.5-star, and even 2-star reviews. But surprisingly, there were a lot of them, like a lot of them, and I'm not saying the guy was lying, maybe he just didn't notice that his review was right there, but nonetheless, there were just a lot of them. What I'm trying to say over here is people can put images on Twitter, people can put images all over the place, people can say stuff, but the only thing I believe in are numbers, and if I can rely on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm gonna rely on IMDb. And if IMDb does prove that Rotten Tomatoes is most probably pretty accurate, I'm just gonna have to live with that. But that being said though, my work here is done, so let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Captain Marvel. Try and, as I state on every single video, to let go of your bias. Try to judge the movie by the movie, not by Brie Larson, not by anything else. Now, if you did like the content of this video, you can drop it a much appreciated like, subscribe to this channel, and enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. But until the next time you tune in for another one of my videos, thank you so much for tuning in to this video, and have a great day.